Hello there, and welcome to episode 44 of Anne and Steve Talk Stuff, where an artist and an economist walk into a podcast to discuss strange things that make the world go round. Stephen, it's good to see you standing up this week.
Yeah, it's nice to be standing up. I am feeling better. I'm on the mend thanks to some really nice physio work. We don't do product placements, but shout out to Midwest Physio and Leonora there for literally getting me back up on my feet. So thank you very much for that. And it's definitely not a paid placement. The payment flow is going the opposite direction, but I definitely recommend them. They're
Well,
great.
that's
So thank you.
that's cool. That's cool, and it is good to see. I mean, most people do listen to this, but it is on YouTube, and
Yeah,
you're. I know.
really
Well,
amazed by that.
I have a comment about that this week. It is great to see you standing up as opposed to last time you were having to lie down. And I have a friend, I think I've quoted her on this before, Bernadette, and she listens to the podcast. Every so often she will kind of live kind of commentate her listening to me and responding to things you say and I say. Um and I admitted that, I do not dress up for this podcast. I got asked to do a podcast. I did not get asked to make a video.
Yeah.
So I am in a very messy room in my house, and I often wear a very similar piece of clothing each time because it's a kind of a cold corner. I call it my podcast fleece. Well, I don't really, but for the sake of purposes. And I got a really snooty comment from Bernadette. About the fleece and then about my appalling lighting. So I have
Right.
made an effort to make sure I'm visible. But really, if you're listening to a podcast on YouTube, like, that's cool, but like, we are voices, we are not faces, and I feel great about myself, and I'm gonna hang on to that.
Yeah. I
So
was I was just about to say, anybody that feels like they that feels empowered to have a chat about what this podcast looks like, they even if it's coming from a friendly place, just keep it inside.
keep it aside.
Keep
And
it
look,
in.
Bernadette will be delighted. I'm even name checking her. Isn't that right, Berno? So I'm
Bernadette,
covering my bases. Come here, Stephen. Okay, you haven't been able to travel for a year like most of us, but it seems today you're having a bit of a jet lag experience, that you have not slept and your time clock has gone a bit mad. So what's happened?
well, I haven't slept because I was too excited to sleep.
Okay.
So I've been working on a project for the last 2 years in total secrecy. So I haven't even told you about it. You're my mate. I haven't been able to tell anyone. Um,
All you said is, I'm doing a really, really, really super secret thing.
yes, 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 yes. Which was like quite cool. The first time I said it to someone, but by the 30th time, they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I can't tell you." And they're
Yeah.
going, "Really though, what is it?" I kind of can't tell you. And Irish society functions almost entirely on a layer of gossip. So this is sort of, it became a whole thing about what is he doing. It's like that Tom Waits song, "What's he building in there?" That one.
Yeah.
But all is now revealed. So what we've been doing is, so myself and John and Patrick Hollis from Stripe and a bunch
Mhm.
of other really amazing people, including Tiziana Margaria from UL and JJ Collins from UL and O'Keefe from UL. So we're on a team of four of us, have been working with about 20 companies to create a brand new degree. It's called Immersive Software Engineering. And the basic idea is, it came up for a dinner that I had with Patrick and John one night, and they said, like, why can we fix computer science education? Can we fix it? And I said, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a computer scientist, but I
Mm.
know I have mates who are. And UL is a very interdisciplinary place because it's so small. People just bash off each other, and we all go for coffee. And so I said, look, I've got this problem. Can you help me? And Titiana and JJ and Ian said, yeah, cool, we will. So we've been working on this for like 2 years, and it's totally new. So it's what it really is we're training software engineers as if they're medical students.
Okay.
So they, instead of doing 24 weeks a year, they do like 44 weeks a year. We have 50% of their time in paid work placements. So with like, and the work placements that we're calling residencies, like medical residencies. So
Mhm.
you need to know things when you walk out the door. You can't have just made the tea. So we'll work very carefully with colleagues to do that. But the most important thing is that we have a really fresh and new approach to how we're going to teach the students. So no end of term exams, all learning by doing. The idea is by the end of it, we're going to produce students with thousands of hours of experience. And they won't just know how to code, right? They're going to know business stuff. They're going to know how to set up a company. We have everything from Enterprise Ireland to venture capitalists interested in working with them. And, some of the biggest companies in the world, like, Stripe and Analog and Facebook and loads of these companies. So it's great. And
Brilliant.
it's been hugely, hugely challenging, because essentially every system within the university had to either bend or change or break in order to accommodate this. And it required a lot of like hard thinking in terms of just the finances, the logistics, and we threw a lot of like really new ideas in there. We went hard at the idea that if we thought about it from the ground up, we could create a program that maximized inclusion and diversity. So we did everything from, Stripe's head of diversity looked at the text of everything and just said like, okay, so this is not, this kind of language is it could be interpreted as being more threatening. So just, change it, and like, literally build for inclusion from the ground up.
Wow.
The course director, like she's one of the best computer scientists in the country. She's our professor of computer science. So it's like, there's a real deep commitment there. And it's been incredibly challenging. But it's also like what I've just described to you is about 0.05% of what it is.
Sure.
It's a really deep, careful rethink of how we do undergraduate education, to the point that we're pretty sure we can take high ability students, really, like we're looking at creativity, curiosity. So we have a portfolio from like an art college, which is, you don't get in engineering degrees, you just get the points and then you go. Well, now you can get the points, sure, and we'll take the creativity and curiosity stuff with you.
Wow, a portfolio as well. That's really
Loads
cool.
of stuff. Like
Wow.
it's a bit like trying to describe, I don't know, I've lived with this in my head for 2 years. It's hard to tell everyone about it, but it's like, it's amazing. And I was incredibly nervous last night about the launch, because it went out today.
Yeah.
So we're recording this at 12:30 on Wednesday the 24th. So today I've done Morning Ireland, News Talk, and a bunch of other radio stations, probably sounding like a zombie. So please do software engineering. It's really exciting as a career. But yeah, so it's been I can't. The reaction has been universally positive.
Wow.
On Twitter and on everyone is emailing saying kind of well done.
Well, here on person, can I say, Stephen, well done.
Yeah, it's thank you. Irish man accepts compliment.
Accept compliments. Do hang on to it. It's and what is your role in the
I'm the co-director of the program. So
Wow.
my job is to lead it in terms of how it connects with industry and how it works across all of those areas.
Very good. Amazing. I can hear the click of all those emails and tweets being being liked and accepted.
Sorry, I'm just literally finding it for you there.
It's so cool. No, it's very cool. And at a time when it seems everything has come to a bit of a standstill, it's really exciting that something new and sounds kind of game changing has been launched.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing, it is incredibly ambitious. What it wants to do is nothing less than a reinvention of undergraduate and postgraduate education. We happen to be doing it in computer science education. The fear is that, we don't live up to our own expectations. And the fear drives a lot of what I'm doing personally to make sure that it's amazing experience for the students. But also, like, now we've done the really hard yards in terms of like thinking it out. But now we need to like kit out a space and hire the right people and make sure that, you know, we've told all the students what it is. So by the time they show up, like, I have so many ideas. I want there to be like a Hogwarts letter out to the students who get into this course. I want them to be the only phrase I want them to associate with being accepted into this program is delight. I want them to feel delight, because they will have achieved something extraordinary, because we're in the first year, we're only going to have 20 to 25 places. So
I was gonna check. I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds almost a bit like an apprenticeship more than
So
your standard degree.
it has some of those features, but what it really does is you'll still get taught all the theory. It's still a master's degree from a university, you know. So they still, you know, you still have to achieve at the level of a master's student. You still have to do X number of hours, X thousand hours. In fact, you still have to be as disciplined as a master's degree holder has to be. The difference is that when you go into the placements, when you go into your residencies, we are actually working with you from the university when you're on placement. So you don't go on, you know, you're not going off for 9 months to make the tea. Like, literally every week we're checking in with you, and we're hiring people to make sure that that happens. And so it's a very different experience. Like, the whole thing is very different, and the way it'll feel for the students is very different.
Very exciting.
Yeah, I know it's I'm very excited to see how it manifests in the world. You know, people are like, now they're reacting to the headlines, to the you know, the PR stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Which is fine, and that's why we wrote it all, right?
Yeah.
The difference between, you know, the announcement of this and the sort of newsiness of it, I guess, and the ability of an individual student to really profit from it is in our execution. It's in how we do it, like.
Absolutely.
And we have to focus on the best possible execution in the world, like, not just this is grand, but literally what is the very best thing we can do, and then go from there, you know.
Right.
And not be bound by external references. So what I mean by that is, you know, I used to work in a university that they had this moniker WWHD, and you'd say something like, oh, I want to do a degree in computer software engineering, and they would go WWHD, and the question was like, what would Harvard do? Right. Which is like, you're good, you have an external reference point, but like, I actually think sometimes what you should do is you should look at what Harvard is doing and see if you can go further, go beyond. So we looked at what the best courses in the world in this area offer, and then we just went beyond it.
Okay.
So we're not taking, you know, so what I want is the best computer science courses in the world in 5 years' time are like, they're looking at us, and, you know, they're asking us how we're doing this stuff. It's literally that level of ambition.
WWULD.
Doesn't really work, does it?
Well, maybe they could just go world. You know,
world.
It kind of, it's a bit Hogwartsy as well, is it? They could,
It
you
is.
know, wave a hand, world.
There's a small bit of Hogwarts. Small bit of Hogwarts there.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. It's a team effort.
Sure.
It's you know, you don't do anything like this without a large bunch of people. And you know, I don't want to do the standard thing of like, you know, thanking everyone, including God, my mom and my dad and all that, because I think that often sounds fake, because, you know, you ask, like, I've often heard, like, you know, Nobel laureates or whatever. I'm not comparing myself to Nobel laureates, just to be sure.
You're such a Nobel laureate.
But I'm not. But they've asked, like, how are you so productive? And they'll always say things like, oh, well, it's just a team. I'm surrounded by great people, which is true typically, right? But it also tends to underestimate the contribution of the individual.
Sure.
Like ultimately, if everyone is equally responsible for everything, then that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But no, like you don't want to go like full Kanye West on it either. Like it was all me. So there's somewhere in between. Like I made a contribution somewhere, someone else made a contribution somewhere, and it's inside the kind of soup of ideas. Some of me is there, and
And
lots more of lots of other people.
and for today's purposes, you're the only one here, so you're getting all the glory and have it.
Thank you very much.
But it is it's a heartening thing to experience because, as you said, we are recording this on Wednesday the 24th of February. I had to double check my calendar just as I said that. And last night there was another charming announcement from the government about just a little dose of more of the same. And that's not, there's no, I'm not shitting on anyone or anything. It's just, I just think we were texting last night and it was just this feeling of, oh, okay. And then not a blame or anger or anything, just this, oh, like I find now when I meet people, they ask you, how are you? And I just shrug my shoulders because there's nothing to say anymore. But do not be alarmed, folks. So we're about, I'm looking at the time, we're probably about halfway through the podcast here. But what we wanted to talk about today, you referred to something, a great term. You said calcified positivity of just saying we're almost there. We're almost there. Just keep going. Which it just stops. It stops meaning anything after a certain period of time. But what you and I thought we would kind of talk about today is resilience in all this. And resilience that's encouraging, not the my life's amazing. I've written 5 books and and used the pandemic to the best of my abilities. Not that kind of depressing productivity that sometimes is visible. But I don't know, Stephen, how are you coping? Apart from like starting world class first of its kind courses,
Yeah.
what are you doing on your day to day to
So
be okay?
so the first thing is to talk about this notion of like calcified positivity. So I hear
Mm,
these things, we're all in this together. We can beat this. The future is just around the corner. And it's like, and I just like thank all our amazing public sector workers, particularly the health workers. And it's the language that's used is the same language often that you hear in Australia.
mm.
If you go to a kind of an area in Australia, you'll see at the start of every event, people will say, we would like to acknowledge the first founders of this land, and it's very important. And there's a particular group. So, for example, where I was in Melbourne, it was the Wurundjeri.
Mhm.
We'd like to acknowledge that that they're
We have stolen their land.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the way it's done is they're the traditional owners of this land,
Yeah.
and all that. So it's quite a kind of a legalistic sort of approach. But the only way I can describe that experience is like, do you remember at the start of school, you did this prayer? And I was like, people kind of just rumble through it. They're not really considering what the words mean.
Yes.
They
Yeah,
might, if
yeah.
you ask them, like, did you really mean what you said? They would say, absolutely, I do mean that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not claiming that they're disingenuous at all. My point is more like,
Empty rhetoric, kind of.
yeah, like they have a form of words they know they need to say, and they're just kind of doing it because, let's be honest, it's an economics conference, let's rock on. And so
Mhm.
it's that, and so a lot of the kind of these statements, they do strike me as this kind of calcified positivity where people don't really engage with the language, and I think, to my ears anyway, and certainly to my mom's and people that I would sort of keep in touch with a lot, is kind of causing the beats and to be really annoyed.
Mm.
Like it's annoying people to be. It feels patronizing at this point after one of the longest continuous lockdowns in the world, by the way, just so Like we're 137 days in to a continuous level 5 lockdown. Like it is, and we will be until for another 4 months. Like it's
Mm.
really important to kind of acknowledge, like, first off, it's completely fine to listen to these words and go, fuck off, right? Just fuck off. I'm not,
Yeah.
that's fine. It's also, and I'm not saying this from a, like a, I'm okay, you're okay, let's go meditate kind of thing. What I'm saying is like, acknowledge the fact that we are all trying to do this in the middle of a crisis. And if you feel crap about things, that's okay, right? But it's not a case of like, realign the chakras and it'll all work out. It's more like saying you have a finite pool of resources, and those resources are kind of intellectual, physical, emotional. And I realized this myself. I had been under tremendous pressure for, well over 2 years now. Some of which you now know about, but other stuff, the NEFIT stuff, and just teaching my students and having my family be in the situation, and all the stuff that everyone else is dealing with. I'm not particularly special in any way. But my point is, like, there is a number in your mind, and you have a certain amount of credits built up, or a certain stock of water in the bathtub, and every time one of these things happens, the water gets drained out, the credits go down. And it's like, at a certain point, you're lying on your back going, have I made all the right choices, right? And the answer is clearly not, because I spent 3 weeks horizontal, right? And so you have to say to yourself, hang on a minute, this isn't right. I mean, clearly, like, you're physically not able to stand up for more than about 5 minutes. Resources have been depleted, yeah?
Yes, most definitely. Your body's
So,
screaming at you.
yeah. So, and it's, and I mean, I would have had people say to me, like, I'm actually worried about you. And I think you actually said to me, I'm a bit worried about you, Steve. You're clearly doing too much. And you were right. You were right. And you didn't know about this other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super secret thing.
So I guess my thing now is, like, first off, accepting the fact that I'm completely comfortable with saying feck off, right? No, I'm getting a lot of stuff coming back about all of the. I'm getting a lot of stuff coming back with all that, but what I'm surprised by is the number of people who are just like, they are not in any sense engaging with the kind of health promotion language that is being deployed towards them. This kind of, like, wash your hands, maintain 3 meters distance, blah 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 blah. They're just going no, and they're turning it off. The only time I can remember that being the case was during the economic crisis, when people were saying to me, I used to watch the 6 o'clock news every day. No, it's too negative. And I think that's true for a lot of people. I wonder, a lot of people just tuning this out until the vaccine arrives and they get told to go down and get their first jab. But what I wanted to think about was, like, when you have a hard time, and when you're feeling a bit like knackered about things, what do you do?
What do I do? Yeah, it has varied, and I think the lockdowns have been undulating levels of. It has been food, it has been alcohol, it has been Netflix. I'm into a new one now where I'm actually it's walking, it's exercising, and I am going swimming in the river.
Tell me about swimming in the river. I'm like so first off, I'm kind of allergic to the cold. The idea of jumping in, like, 4 or 5 degree water,
pretty much, yeah. It's mad. Now, I need to be clear, because I sound like such, dare I say, a dickhead with that. Like, I was this, then it was that, but now I'm great. I'm not great. I'm still, when I can eat shite, I'm eating shite. When I can drink a few drinks, I am drinking a few drinks. I suppose I made a little bit of a call for myself. It's funny thing. Okay, I will get to the swimming thing. I've been swimming since 2009, all year round. That's when I started. And the funniest thing, I lived in Galway, and I went through the winter, and I've kept going. And since June 2009, I have not missed a month, a calendar month of getting into some kind of wild water. And
Wow.
it's a little record. And it's good because it means it's something that it's a little thing I like to protect. So I'm like, whatever, come hell or high water, I'm getting in this month, so I don't miss it. What's been very interesting, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in Ireland, because everyone's trapped here,
Mhm.
sea swimming, river swimming has become very popular because
Yeah,
people have turned to it, and they're like, well, why don't I start doing this thing? And the interesting I found last year is I kind of stopped. I became way less inclined. It was harder to get to swim spots. Often there were a lot of people there, and for various reasons. And also I had a big year. It's still going on, but I had a big year of grief last year, as well, with losing my
of
mum.
course.
And so all these things I found, I was like, everyone's turning to the water, and I'm like, I'm not that pushed. But a lovely thing happened this year where a friend of mine, Jean McGlynn, uh, who has always loved kind of coming swimming, but she'll around October she'll go, yeah, I'm done. She decided, no, I'm doing this. It became a thing for her. And then the 5K restriction kicked in, and there's a very beautiful spot out in Anacotty where we go, and the guards began showing up there and finding people. Now I wasn't out there or whatever, but it became a thing, and it's far beyond my 5K. So we turned to a spot in the city, which is quite near King John's Castle, called Verdant Place, and it's steps, and it's very safe, and it's very lovely. And we've started going there almost every day, and
Oh wow.
it's tidal, so you can only go at high tide, so it'll vary from day to day. And I can't go every day. Like today, high tide is at 5 o'clock. I have a meeting, so I can't go. But
Okay.
um we even cleaned it. We did a bit of a cleanup because it's a city
Did
center
you?
place. Yeah, we did a bit of
Okay.
a Sunday afternoon with pickers and bags, and it stayed quite lovely, you know. But
Okay.
what's the point of all this? My biggest thing when I started doing this back in 2009 was I wanted not to be a victim of Irish weather. I'm
Okay.
going to live in Ireland. I don't want to be clutching a radiator for 3 or 4 months waiting for the weather to get better, and then I'll
Yeah.
go for walks, or then I'll get. And so to physically get into water all year round, I just feel a freedom in that. And especially if you go early morning or something, you actually feel the seasons turn as well.
Oh wow.
You feel the extra 3 minutes. Like at the moment, we're gaining 3 minutes of daylight a day, um, and you feel that. You feel like you hear environmentalists talk about the oceans rising by a degree, and you might go, huh, I can tell you, when it comes to winter, you will feel half a degree, and the notion of the oceans going up by a degree is terrifying. You know, when
Wow.
you and no, but I'm saying there's a lovely connection to nature, and it's okay. I'm loving now because it's spring and things are getting brighter, but there is still a loveliness about going into the winter as well. So that's where that all came from for me. And what's been lovely, I suppose, has been rediscovering a city center place. And I'm not a great swimmer. I'm not a tough nut or anything. I just like getting into water. There's a term like ablution or something. And
Ablution.
ablution is,
Ablution.
yeah. And for me, I don't consider it a full thing unless I dip the head in as well. So Jenny would not agree with me on that. But yeah, that's my very long answer to your very short
For
question.
the people who are not like for the people who are just listening to this podcast, Anne's entire description there, my facial expression went for two things. One was like genuine awe, and the other was like actual discomfort at the even thought of it.
But to be honest, it's all about having your hot water bottle, having your flask of a hot drink ready, having the treat ready, and feeling smug as hell. That's what
Yeah,
it's all about.
yeah,
But it's also if you do something like that, especially in the morning, you just nothing can phase you for the day. You know,
yeah.
it's a great little literal resilience.
So
And
to take that like bathtub metaphor,
mhm.
on sort of so many water metaphors here, but just in terms of like the amount of resilience in the tank, like you're just
Yeah,
literally adding to it.
literally.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's been And I'm still, it's things still aren't great. Like I'm not dancing around thinking everything's great. I'm struggling like everyone. But that is certainly, it's a focus. It's a bit of community. It's something we can do safely. I can talk
Mhm.
to my friend, and we're not giving each other COVID. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and how about you, Stephen? What have you found has
So
been
so
good
I
for
have
resilience?
so I think we did a podcast about the fact that I have no hobbies. I just work
Hmm.
and hang out with kids. So one of the things my kids have been sort of trying to get me to do is they've been trying to introduce me to hobbies.
Okay.
And we have done a few. One is a video game called Red Dead Redemption.
Hmm.
So this is my son is mad into this game, and so actually is Blind Boy from the Rubber Bandits. He sort of records himself playing the game, and so I tried it, and I'm, you know, and it's a beautiful game.
Hmm.
But the last time I played a video game, I was like 11, and they have evolved.
Just a bit.
So you need
Spa-
like a PhD to work all the controls, and you need
was it
11
was
fingers.
it Space Invaders?
Yeah, I'm like below Space Invaders in terms of ability. So I don't even have games on my phone. Like,
Hmm.
so I'm just
They 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 take up a lot of memory.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, unless you count Twitter as a game, which you kind of should, right? It's
Okay.
it's a game where yeah, you just push it out and do all the rest. So
But go
um,
on. Sorry. Well, so you've been
well,
playing
so
Red
that was
Dead.
the first sort of example of hobby, and I'm trying. I'm trying to get better, but I keep like um, kneeling down and looking up at the sky, and then some dude just shoots me. So it's frustrating. So I need to get better at that. It's something I just walk around and goes, "What's wrong with you, neely pointy man?" And I go, it just pop me off, and that's the end.
Sorry, just this memory of playing video games as younger, and your character starts like dancing or twirling. You're like, what are you doing? And you're screaming at the screen, and you're doing it at the buttons, but you're screaming at your avatar, going,
Yes.
"What are you doing?"
Yes, yes. And this game is off the charts. Like when you get on these different horses, the horses run differently, and you can explore this giant world. You don't have to, you're not like led along by the nose in this game. You can just go off camping if you want. Like, it's a mad game. It's
Wow.
it's nothing. They're called open worlds. It's like nothing I've ever seen. So there's that, but we've been watching Junior Bake Off. So after
Okay.
homeschooling, we do Junior Bake Off, which is like Bake Off, except for small children who are all
Mm,
better bakers than I am.
yeah.
But it has produced in the children a need and a want to bake.
Wow.
So we use this app called Tasty. Tasty, Zesty, Tasty. Uh, we use this app called, what's it called? Tasty.
Tasty.
And literally put in, like, look in the ingredients. What the genius of this app, again, not sponsored by Tasty, but the
Can't wait
genius of
for
this app is
all
you
the sponsorship money to
I'm all
pile
about the
in.
product placement. You put in the
Ingredients?
ingredients you have, and it goes, you should probably make a chocolate cake, mate. You've got too much chocolate.
Oh wow.
Genius. And then it's got these little videos, so you're not kind of reading down the list and going, oh my god, I should have had the oven on 3 hours ago. Whatever. It actually does it
Yeah.
all. It shows you how to do it. You watch the video 3 times, you can kind of make it yourself. So that's cool. So we're kind of doing this stuff, and we've sort of collapsed on chocolate cakes and fairy cakes. And what
Okay.
it is so my phone goes off pretty much every 30 seconds because I have emails from students, text messages, WhatsApps, whatever, right? Like everyone else, I'm sure. It's a crowded space. So what I
Mhm.
do is I just put the phone on fucking, what's the non-buzzy setting?
Silent?
No, but when you put it on silent, it keeps buzzing. I put it on the
Oh,
thing where it's just it's not even a phone.
airplane mode.
That's the one, airplane mode.
Okay, yeah.
Airplane mode. It's actually even an airplane. It's literally called airplanes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So I do that, and then I just do cupcakes or whatever, and then we eat them, and then I
Fantastic.
send the highly sugared children to bed, and that's great. That's
That's
just great.
wonderful.
And then I get back to work. So that's what I do. That's my sort of break in the day.
That's how you
Uh,
recharge the battery, get the credits back up again.
yeah, a little bit. I think I'd like to go out more when I'm able to walk. better, so I can like make it around my estate once now, which
Okay.
is good. That's progress. Whereas like I mean it's not like relative to last week, that's a lot. So
Mm,
and hopefully next week it'll be 3 times around the estate
yes.
before everything seizes up.
It's
So
it's a
I will, yeah.
it's a tough thing because Jenny hurt her knee recently, and like the only thing we have is walking. Like walking is the new everything. I mean, I live in the city, and it's like let's walk the three bridges. I guess what do you want to do? Do you want to walk three bridges? Yeah, let's walk the three bridges,
Yeah.
and actually four if you get O'Halloran's Bridge into the potato market as well. And on the way, maybe you'll get a coffee. And it's so funny. This has replaced going to a cafe, it's replaced going to a restaurant, it's replaced going to a pub, it's replaced going to
Mm.
people's houses. Walking is everything. And I really feel for you or for Jenny or for anyone who gets an injury that means you can't walk, because that's like
Yep.
the only thing available to us at the moment. So fair play on keeping up the resilience with an injury, because that's just extra. And there's people living with far more challenging circumstances. And can we, like the Australians and the Canadians and all that, and the New Zealanders who acknowledge the land they're standing on. I'm going to take a little second to acknowledge my privilege in this moment, that the resilience I can access and the resilience that's doing me is coming from a place where I have a ton of privilege to be able to do all those things. So
Yeah. I
just
mean,
throwing that out there now.
yeah. I mean, so I will acknowledge that you have a privilege that I do not have, which is walking.
Mhm.
But I also think that maybe working working um too much probably contributes to that,
Sure.
so maybe. So
it's
yeah.
it's all these things. It's all these things are there. Actually, my swim spot, to access it, you have to go up a set of steps and down a set of steps as well. So there's a hopefully that might get sorted at some point, so other people can at least get to it. But yeah, Stephen, I'm just keeping an eye on the time. That's because that's
Mm,
part of my job.
yeah.
I'd say we probably need to wrap up about
Mm.
there.
Yeah, I think just the main thing here is just I would just like us and maybe our leaders just a bit more empathy, and not in that like be kind hashtag bullshit way, or just kind of saying, listen, it's important for you to mind yourselves. This is not normal. Don't pretend that things are normal. If you end up pretending things are normal, things will go badly for you. you know uh and I think there's a brilliant piece of work with there's a brilliant piece of work with the Canadian Civil Service, and they said,
Mm,
you are not working from home. You are at home during a crisis trying to work. And
fair
I
play to them.
think that there is a huge amount of learning and knowledge and wisdom and empathy in that reframing of the problem,
Yep.
right? And I think if we just do that, we'll just be better off.
Yeah.
Like we really will just be better off. And none of this fucking we'll get through this together stuff. It's much more like mind yourself, do your best. Whatever your best is
Hmm.
enough. If walking around the estate once is your best, then that's fine, you
Yep.
know. And don't don't think that that's not enough. And I think that's something that says that is probably certainly what I'm saying to myself.
Hmm.
Um, certainly what I'm saying to myself. And I hope that more people would listen and say that to themselves as well, because the end, you can only hear the end is nigh runs together the calcified positivity stuff so often before it starts to sound like you're being mocked, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um, so don't feel mocked, and just come up with ways to, even small ways, to make yourself feel better. And I think that's worth thinking about this week.
Absolutely. And that's a very nice note to end on, as And I also wish you well with your exciting venture. I could hear your non-airplane mode, some non-airplane mode noises there, but we
Yeah,
are grabbing a little bit of your time on a very busy day for you.
yeah.
So, but an exciting day.
It's exciting.
And
It's exciting. It's exhausting, but I always love talking to you, Anne. Thank you so much for
uh,
your time.
right back at you, Stephen. And until next week, and I hope, hopefully, when we talk next week, you are going around the estate 3 times.
Please God.
Until
See you later.
then, have a good one. Bye.